तुम्हारे फोन बंद कर दे यार। Okay, you can wait for 2 or 3 minutes, then we can start when all are connected. Okay, so firstly we can revise all the questions that we already cover. So let's open this. Okay. So firstly we will cover which question we already cover. First one is anti-framework code. So why we use the anti-framework code? So it's a bridge between our application and our SQL database that we are using. SQL. Open it. So this is the most important question in a .NET interview because it track all your changes. For example, you do add, update, or delete. All the things will be done with the help of this. Before that, when we are not using anti-framework code, that time we need to write here raw SQL queries. But now we can communicate with the help of C# objects. It automatically convert in a raw SQL query when it goes to here. So this is the bridge, and it will like multiple questions in an interview that are related to this. For example, in which we are using as no tracking. I will write here as no tracking, as split query. So these are the important question. And what is the eager loading and lazy loading? Eager loading and lazy loading. These all the important questions that are related to a anti-framework code. As not tracking we can use when we are getting data. So when we are getting any data, so that time we don't need to track the changes because we are just getting their data. So that time if you have a like it helps to improve the performance of your that query. So and as split query, for example, you can add a multiple joins with the help of include and then include keyword. So it will what it will be do, this is split the query. So when that query goes to here in the SQL server, so it will split that query. And this is also important question: eager loading and lazy loading. In a eager loading, we can get data in a one query with the help of include keyword, and in lazy loading you can write one query. For example, if you are getting data two tables, so firstly it will fetch data from the user table, after that user file. But in a eager loading, you can get all the data in a single query, so that helps to improve the performance. So this is also important question I can write here. And next we can use do here app setting.json file. So app setting.json file, this is the configuration file where we can add our all the configuration related work. For example, if you use a Twilio and SendGrid or JWT token, so all the configuration like configuration part will be add here in the app setting.json file. Our connection string we can add here. So this is also important question. You have to idea why we use this. So db context. Next question is db context. So db context is the main file of anti-framework core. With like this is the main file that we can insert it here. If you can see here, we can make a db context file, and here we can insert it this file. DB context. So anyone have any question, you can message here. I will try to answer that question. And next, our question will be why we use a using keyword. So using keyword we can use to import the namespaces. So for example, you can see here they are we can imported multiple namespaces. So without this, we don't import the namespaces. So mainly we can use the import the namespaces, and it also work as a garbage collector, automatically delete the app classes or objects that we are not in a memory that we are not used too long. And the next one is program.cs file. So here we can register our all the services. Here we can register our all the services, and here we can add our middleware. So and this is the first file that will be run when we can run our application from here. So this is the first file. That's why all the registration we can do here. For example, our connection string we can register here. Our dependency injection we can register here. If we use sorry, middleware, so authentication app dot use authentication, so all things will be here. And you already see we have a pre-built middlewares like app dot use authentication app dot, these are the pre-built middlewares. And here we can register our connection string, db context with and connection. Okay. Next one is constructor. So constructor is a special member function which is called automatically called when we create the object of the class. So you can see here in the last class, everywhere we can use the constructor, and privately we can inject, and we can achieve here dependency injection with the help of constructor. For now we are not making any. So I will open any. Okay. So you can see here, this is the constructor. Here inside the constructor, we can inject our interface and services. And Next one is the single responsibility principle. It means the class should have only the single responsibility and the single reason to change. So you can see here we can make the class, so this class have only the single responsibility and only the single reason to change. And next one is HTTP method. We already use HTTP get, post, put, and delete. Status code will be 200, 400. So we already cover these all the things. Okay. And now we are doing the DTOs. So let's start to work on it. So in the last class, we will make interface and service. So here we will class. Screen, we can move to so it will take a same name. That's why it's giving. So next our part is we can make a AutoMapper profile. Same in the last class we can do. So using that we need to install one package. That package name will be this one. We can install AutoMapper dot extension dot Microsoft dot dependency injection. So same we need to install here to use the AutoMapper. Go to tools, Nugget package manager. Anyone have any question, you can message here and you can comment before in this video if you want anything. And please like, share, comment on the video so it will be helpful for other students. Okay, so here we need to install this in here in the data assets layer and also in the application DB context file. So here we can choose the version, this one, and okay. Mm, Also I added here because in the mapper we will use. Okay, our package will be installed. Now we can make one folder mapper. Inside this, we can make the mapping profile or any name you can give. For example, we are making a mapping for the product. So we will give the name here. Mapping. We can give the name project mapping.cs file. Okay, so Control RG. Here we can inherit profile. The same like that. Here we can inherit DB context file. Same like that. AutoMapper main class will be profile. So we can inherit that. So with the help of this namespace, we can import and then we can make public mapping profile. And this is this empty constructor we can make. And here we can define create map. Okay. So we can remove this. We can simply make first one is for the create our data goes to a in the get method data goes to a well, data goes to our project table to a comma our response. So project response. So we need to add here namespace. Project response. This is our class name. We need to define here also. But firstly, we will add here. Okay, so Rashmi, when we have okay, firstly you have to understand. Let me fix this project response DTO. The namespace could be not found in any video dot response. Okay, so we need to add the reference here in this table, in this here project reference. So our duty will be this. So we need to add the namespace here. Now you are able to use this. Okay. So AutoMapper we can use to map our table. So this is our domain model. This is our domain model that is a created in the database domain model. And why we use this DTO? This is for the security purpose. We don't show our domain model that will be created here indirectly in a Swagger UI or a in a controller. We don't need to pass this. So for the security purpose we can use the DTO. And this mapping profile means we can, because this is our actual table and this is the response, so we get data from here and we can pass here. So here we can use a reverse map because it's not a necessary. You can simply like that way. Reverse map, that time we can use when data goes both direction, project to a project response DTO and project response to a project. So now our data goes to data transfer, goes to project to project response DTO. That's why we are using the AutoMapper for improve the performance of the our system. We can use AutoMapper. For example, you want to get only two things. Like you want to get only in a project towel, there are multiple things, but you want only name. So that time you can make a DTO where you can add only the name and you can fetch only the name. So it will helps to improve the performance, and it will AutoMapper we will use to improve the security of our system, because we don't directly share our this one project class directly to the user. For example, when we can use authentication and authorization, so we don't share our username and password. So if we don't use a AutoMapper, so if you take a project, so you need to show all the things in your Swagger UI when you can get that project with the help of, for example, the user. If you get that user with the help of ID, so you will everyone can easily understand what you can pass their username and password and your credential, and anyone misuse. So that's why we can use the DTOs. So it helps to improve the performance of our system. It helps. So this is the most important question, why we use AutoMapper. So AutoMapper is object collection mapping. Okay, I will give you a simple definition. AutoMapper helps to improve the performance of our system and reduce amount of code to map different objects to. And it will helps to a security purpose to secure, because here we don't show directly our domain model. Uh, we don't need to expose the domain entities to the client side. We can use DTOs. For example, now you can see in the interface we can use response type will be like that way, request in the request body. For example, you can see here what we can do in the interface. If you can go here directly, we can show here our, so here, okay, here we also used AutoMapper. I will check next one. Okay, we can run operation. Okay, let me show you where we cannot use. I think here. So if you can see here, Here, I think we don't use AutoMapper. So you can see here, if we don't use AutoMapper, we can directly add here our domain model. So this is the benefit of AutoMapper. We don't need to expose our domain model. So you can give any name your DTOs. So, and you can only, if you can give here product. So for example, when you can get by ID. So same thing for the user. If you get that user by ID, so you will get all the details, ID, name, password. So if you don't use DTO, but for now we are using DTO rather than exposing direct our domain model, we can communicate with the help of DTO. So now we will write how like that way we will write project product DTO and get by ID. So we will return things or return type will be a DTO. Everywhere we here also we can use a DTO. We don't expose our the for domain model. So you can see here. So it helps to improve the performance. So is it clear now or have any doubt? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so this is a important question in the interview. So that's why we need to do mapping here. So first one is data goes to a project your and domain anti model to respond. So here what it will be do, you get it will be used get by ID or get all method. It this mapping is used mapping is used for get by ID method and get all methods. Okay, because you can get data from our domain model and pass to a project response studio. So it's your choice which thing you need to pass here. For example, uh, in a when you can make a user table, you can don't pass here either here your password anything. You can only want that you can want. For example, we already added the migration. For example, I want to add here only ID and name. So description will not show here. But you can, if you can use not DTO, so you need to show all the fields that is here. So this is the benefit of DTO because sometimes based on the requirement we can change the DTO. For example, if your client have a requirement, they also don't want ID, they want only name. So in the response we can pass only the name. So any another mapping we want, so we can directly make here. So this is the benefit of DTO. So this is true for the get by ID and get all method. Next, we can make our data goes to a request body when we can add or update and goes to our domain model. So for this is used for update and delete. There your data will be goes create map project request. Okay, this one, this DTO. Okay, so here when we add, we don't need to pass ID because ID is auto increment. So when we can add, we can add all these two fields for now. It's a choice if you pass, so that also not give any error because this is the auto increment or for now we don't add here and project. And in the end, if you can write reverse match, sometime your data goes in word direction. That time we can write here in the end to a reverse map. But for now we don't need, so we don't write here. So now what will we do? You can get this response. For example, here you can get the response from the Swagger UI where you can add your name or description, and this is your request body and you can pass to our project model. So this is too simple. I will try to make it simple so anyone can easily understand. So same thing, we can make a simple to mapping. First to for the get all method, and this is for the create or map, and in the delete we don't need to pass anything. We just give the message this record will be deleted. Okay. So anyone have any question related to this? Okay. 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 So okay, so anyone give answer here? Why we make, but your understanding why we make a lean architecture or onion architecture? Because before that, if we don't use, then also all the things will be working. Then we can do in a single application or a single here without using a class library. So anyone give answer here? I just check what is your response. Okay, so here we can do all the things. Our next step is we can make the interface and we can make the service. So this is the service. We can make a different class library. Here we can make our interface and services. So here I will make one folder, interface, and we will make one folder for the services. Or we can show add here openly because in this we only add two things, interface and services. Okay. So next we will add here interface. Right, project service. Beta testing code is already okay. So here firstly we will make a interface. So anyone give answer why we use an interface? Sorry, here we need to use not class, we need to use interface. So in an interface, we just declare the method. We don't give the definition. And here we also follow a second principle, open close principle, and interface segregation principle. Interface segregation principle in this interface, we only add the things that we are actually want. We don't add here unwanted method because if I added unwanted method, so we need to insert it here. For example, I will show you in the help of simple example. I think I already shared with you. If I added any unwanted method here, so it will, we need to do that implementation here. So here we can follow two principle. Yeah, yes. And we can use interface to implement abstraction. Also we can implement a dependency injection with the help of interface. So like that way, when you can give answer in an interview in a practical way, so that is a much chance you can select in an interview rather than giving a simple answer like any definition. So you can give a practical answer for you can give the answer. We can use the interface to do a abstraction, because with the help of this we can hide all the details that we can write in the project service. And we can implement dependency injection also with the help of interface, because we can inject in our in our constructor rather than writing all the code here. And abstraction also, because here you can see here, or here we just call the method that we can declare in the interface, and all the implementation we can hide here. So with the help of interface we can achieve here abstraction. So this is also important part. Okay, okay, okay. And here we also implement open close principle. I already open closed principle. And next one is a single interface segregation principle. So interface segregation principle means rather than making a big object like big interface, you can make it simple. I will explain you with the help of simple example. Let me check if I have. mm, okay. Okay, one like I will try to give you with the help of example, then you have a better understanding. So open clause means a class should be open for extension but closed for modification. I think this is we already covered. This is so this means client should not force to implement the interface that he is not actually want. How I will explain you. So for example, you can make the interface. Simple example I will give here for the interface segregation principle. For example, I already added here but not showing. Okay, I will give you. You can make the interface. The okay, here you can make the method. Here you can make the method void, just for understanding. Void eat, void work, sleep, and void work. It's a just for understanding. Okay, and you have a two classes. One means human, human class. You can any class we can add here just for understanding. I am giving here example. So human, for example, I will add here interface. Uh, any name I can give here. Domain interface, any name. So just for understanding. Okay, so when I can inherited here this interface, so we don't want this method eat, sleep, and work. Okay, so here it will be work. So here it will follow interface segregation principle. But for now, same interface you are using for the reward robot, for example, robot class. So this one not eat, not sleep. So that time we don't follow this interface segregation principle. So that is the this principle. So this principle say a client should not be forced to implement the interface that it does not use. So you can see here, we already define here these eat, sleep, and work. So when we can inherit this interface here, so we just want only sleep, but you are forced to inherit these two methods that it's not actually what. So this is a very simple example. Anyone can easily understand. So now what we can do, we can make a separate interface. uh, we can separate interface I for each interface. Then we can inside this we can put this method uh, eat. This method we can x here we can put here. Next one is for the sleep. We can make a separate interface I work. And next one is for the sleep. Okay, so now rather than using this one, we can make a separate here, and that it will be want. For example, here human wants eat, work, and sleep. So we can achieve a multiple inheritance with the help of interface here in the C chart. So we can add here like that way. But in the robot, we don't. We only want this class, so we can add here work for now. So this is the interface aggregation principle. We can design our interface like that way. So not any class forced to inherit that method that they are not actually want. So this is the the definition. A client should not be forced to implement an interface that it does not use. In this case, iProduct interface should only contains the method that are relevant to the projects and not include any method that are not related to projects. For example, here you can add the any method related to a user, related to products that are not related to a project service. So where we can not follow this interface aggregation principle. So is it clear to everyone? Or haven't? You can read definition from anywhere, but you have to understanding why we use this. Is it clear? Okay, okay. Thank you for the reply. Next, we can make the interface. So for the get all, we use IEnumerable. And you can see here we can use before that what we can do, we can add here our project table. Add project reference. So before that we are doing like that way, but now we can make a interface. So here we will add here our interface project response GTO, this one. So this is the benefit of using GTO. You are not showing your domain model not here, not in the service, not in the controller. So your domain model will be secure here. You just define in the DB context. You created and define in your DB context file. It's just here. And in your Swagger and data sets layer, you don't need to show that. Okay, so here we don't use, for example, you also work on your name convention. For example, it will give you option get all projects in So we need to write this. So you every time when you can give any method name, so you need to think about this to write a clean or to write a clean code, because we already defined this method is related to a project service. So we don't need to write this project get all projects async, because he already defined this is related to a project. So we can remove this. We can simple write here get all, and here we can use a async and await, and that's why we are using here task. It represent the asynchronous operation that can return a value. Next we can make get all projects. Next we can make get by id. Same thing, same response type we can use. Our response, we can get the record and pass to this response. So this is our response. Next one is we can make add a new project and return. So same like that way we can write. So see, you can see here we can pass our request DTO, and here it will be wrong. Here we need to pass project response DTO, not this. So everywhere in the response we can pass like that. It's next one is we can make to update the method. So here we don't need to pass because in our DTO, okay. So here we need to pass ID because in our request DTO we don't add ID. If you want, or it's your choice, you can make a separate DTO where you can add the ID. It's a choice. For example, if you want to use a separate DTO for the update, so here you can same like that way you can map, because in here we need to ID, so you like that way you can write public int ID, and you can give the name here update request DTO. And next thing is it's you can see here we can make this based on the requirement. If you don't make, you need to pass like that way, so you need to do mapping here like that way, and then you can able to use here, then you don't need to pass like that way ID, you can use this GTO. So it's a waste your requirement, you can make the GTO. And next one is we can make delete. So here we can make the interface and give all the definitions here that we actually want here. This is for the we are using IEnumerable. So IEnumerable we can use when we want to get all the data. So that time we can use IEnumerable because it will provide us unfiltered data. And iQueryable we can use when we want a filter data. For example, here you can want to implement pagination and searching. So that time we don't use iNumberable because what it will be do, it will be impact on the performance. It firstly it will fetch all the records, and after that it will update the records, like it will filter the record. But in iQueryable they will provide you a filter data. For example, if you want only 10 record, so that will provide a God, which topic? Texture implementations. Okay, next thing is we can make the service here. Then make a project service here. Here we can inherit our method, and here we can do encapsulation, wrapping data and method together in a single unit here. So these are the implementation we need to do here. And we can make the constructor and privately inject here. Private, read only, not this application table context. Okay, I can do this outside the class. You need to make inside the class. Okay, so this is done for today class. Next, we can do how we can implement these things. Okay. So if you like this video, please like, share, and comment below. Like, what's your response? It will be good or bad, and so you can add comments. So I have an idea, and it's really motivates to me to take the next class when I can get your comments here. Okay, thank you for attending this class. Okay, bye bye.